Welcome back to the next edition of AFL History Timeline and Magic. We are joined now by our guy, Stokes. What's up, Stokes?
Hola.
All right, Stokes. Well, this is the last year of AFL that is PS, pre-Stokes, because you join us in Season 4, but we're on Season 3. The first two seasons have been Han Super Bowl seasons, and Season 3 is the same, as Han goes three-peat, the first ever three-peat in AFL history, and the only ever three-peat in AFL history, as he beats Hadley in the Super Bowl. He beat Hadley Season 1, he beat Scott Season 2, beats Hadley again Season 3. At this point in time, Magic, we talked about how talented this core of owners was. Han going back-to-back was impressive in itself. I think once he went back-to-back, he established himself as the top dog. At this point in time, I think it was not even a question of who the best guy was. It was just how much is the gap between everybody else and Han.
It's kind of really interesting that he had never played Ridge in his back. So he's getting to the Super Bowl, which presumably you're playing the best person anyway. But I think in our minds it was Ridge was number one, and yet Ridge was always getting knocked out by either Scott, Hadley, or someone before he even got to the championship game.
Well, Ridge kept.
Good for Han, though, yeah.
You bring up a great point about Ridge. Ridge kept getting knocked out by Scott, and then he got knocked out by Hadley. And I'm going to test my memory here. I think they played in the NFC title game this time around. No, Ridge lost to Hadley in the divisional round, and then Hadley beat Swag in the title game. I think what happened, and we can talk about this now. Madden 12 was a different beast. Hadley and Scott were passers, and they come out of the gate throwing, and Madden 12 was a very throw-friendly game, and Ridge was a runner through and through. We had to make the Ridge rule where you had to pass a certain amount of times because he wanted to run it down your throat. And Madden 12, it's just if you weren't throwing, you were playing with a disadvantage. And Stokes, I know you know this from playing Madden 12, that passing was pretty easy in this game, so guys that were throwing it all over the yard were probably going to beat guys that just wanted to establish the run.
Yeah, absolutely. That game was very, very pass happy, and it's one of the few Maddens that I've played over the years in which I was more of a passer than a runner, because I mostly want to run the ball, and I changed it up completely for that Madden because I saw how easy it was to be effective throwing the ball.
And the way to throw the ball in this game that everybody caught on to eventually was it was streaks downfield with inside pass leads, user click on and catch, and it was that very annoying animation where the receiver doesn't even turn his head around. He just kind of jumps and throws his arms up and catches it every time. So it wasn't even really about speed at this point. It was just about having guys with size who could get inside and almost box out. So guys, in this season, there's a couple things that stick out. The first thing I want to talk about is Pick 6, because this was Pick 6's first season in AFL, and he had one of the most epic ways of joining AFL. We had an owner named iSwag, who was the Dallas Cowboys owner, and Pick had been hanging out in chat quite a bit. He was friends with Shadow, and he was trying to get into the league, but we just didn't have a spot for him. And iSwag was a guy that talked a lot of shit to anybody that came into chat. And Pick challenged iSwag to a money game, and iSwag lost the game. And Pick decided, iSwag lost the game, and iSwag decided he wasn't going to play Pick. And Magic, that is an AFL no-no to make a bet and not pay.
You don't pay, you get that foul.
And so we decided to say, well, if you're not going to pay, you're going to pay a different way. You're going to give him your spot. So Pick took over the Dallas Cowboys. iSwag was never to be heard from again in AFL. Stokes, I know this was the first time you heard this story. Pretty epic debut for Pick.
Yeah, how much was the bet? Does anybody even remember? Or is that like
that I don't
fable?
I don't know either. I'm sure Pick would probably tell you. Maybe he'd embellish it. It's probably like one of those things where, like, over the years, the number gets bigger and bigger every time you tell the story.
Yeah.
$1,000. Knowing iSwag's personality, I would bet it'd be capped out around 50. But that was a pretty cool way for Pick to join the league, and now he's one of our core owners. So we've had some pretty cool stories along the way of guys joining us, and that's one of them. But guys, let's talk about Han. He won all 3 Super Bowls starting off Madden 12. Stokes, you're very familiar with Han. He's the guy that actually brought you to AFL. He's a beast. He plays Virgin Gaming at this point in time. He plays ranked. Mutt really wasn't as nearly as big of a thing at this point in time. So it was really Virgin Gaming ranked and franchise games. Han was a beast. He was dominant, but he also had a controversial personality that rubbed people the wrong way. And as Magic alluded to, he was a guy that liked to at least test the limits of the rules. So Stokes, of all the guys on this show, you know Han the best, and you also are a big fan of Han. How would you sum up Han, the owner?
I think Han, as an owner, he is great for pretty much any league because he's. I want to say he's gonna weed out the weak personalities because people he's definitely an acquired taste, and if you're weak and he senses that he is going to attack you and attack you and attack you until you rage, and as we all know, I love a good fest, so it was great for me because he between my conversations with him, he understood that he's not going to get a fest out of me. So he always, just talk to me however, and I think that his personality is one of a kind because unlike some of our trash talkers now, they may not be able to back it up all the time on the sticks. Han was a good trash talker, and he was able to back it up on the sticks. So that was a very nice that is a very nice combination, especially when you can back up what you talk.
For the wrestling fans out there, you're going to know this term. There's a term called heel, which obviously is a real life term too, but a heel in wrestling is a bad guy. It's the guy that his entire job is to make the crowd dislike him. I thought Han was the ultimate heel, and I think he was actually playing that character at times in AFL where he would beat people and where most people would say, good game, they'd try to show sportsmanship. Han was the guy that would be like, good try. And he'd just do little things to pick and prod, and he'd tell guys, yeah, you're never going to beat me. I think he thrived on the fact that he was the bad guy. And I like Han from the fact that when he called into the radio show, he didn't try to keep that persona up. And he actually said it was an act. And when he called into the radio show, he was one of the realer people I talked to. He had a good personality. He was well-spoken. You could tell he knew the different aspects of the game. Magic, you were on some of those conversations with Han. What were your impressions?
Very insightful. I was right that when he came on, he was just gonna, kind of be Han from chat, and it'd be something that I'd want to tune out from. And instead, we got, you could ask him questions about the game and he would answer them fully, openly, and then he would also, speak to you like he was an actual human being and not someone, just behind a keyboard.
I think as time's gone on with Han, I've been able to figure out the kind of people he's going to go after. He's going to go after people that he finds to be brash. And if he thinks that you're brash, he's gonna try to knock you down a peg. If Han was in AFL today, I think he would target Reese.
I was going to say Reese.
I think he would target Roman. I think he would be going after those two guys immediately. Han's another guy that if you beat him, he's going to target you. Now, if you're somebody that you've played him, Han and I could play 20 times, and I might beat him. This is back in the day. I haven't played Han probably in 3 years in Madden. Back in the day, I probably would beat Han maybe 5 out of 20 times. And maybe that's even high. So there's no reason for him to get mad at me for beating him because he knows, through the history of our games, he's got the better of me more than I got the better of him. But I noticed when Han was in PS4 this past year, and I saw this carry over even into AFL when he was here, when JD beat him, and JD just said, I beat him, and it's like he snapped. And he started calling me names, like he called us by the wrong name. He called him Jerry instead of Jeremiah. Just little things, just to kind of poke at somebody. And I was like, I told JD, that's because he respects you. He's either going to mess with you if he has no respect for you whatsoever and he just doesn't like you, or he's going to mess with you if he respects you and he knows you're good, but he doesn't want you to know he knows you're good. So I think there's just a little bit of that there. I do think he's a really smart guy. I'm glad that he's back with us on Facebook. I don't know if at the end of the day he's a guy that belongs in Assembly. What do you think, Stokes?
I would say that no, because he's gonna push all of the rules to the limit. I mean, that's just what he does because he's not a fan of rules at all. And I can respect that. I mean, if this is you, this is you, and I don't think that Sim Madden is for him because he's so used to the balls to the wall. I've got to do what I got to do to win. That it's hard for him to tone that down. But when he's in AFL, for the most part, he was certainly able to do that, and that's why he was in AFL for as long as he was until he wasn't.
And the thing about Madden 12 versus Madden today, Madden 12, really, if you didn't play in, well, they weren't connected franchise. If you didn't play in online franchise, you were playing ranked. MUT was just in its infancy stages. Nobody really was playing MUT, to my knowledge. It certainly wasn't the cash cow it is today. And you just played ranked, and there's just no narrative in ranked. I mean, you could make your way up the leaderboard, but you're just playing games, you're building your record, but there's no satisfaction in winning. It's not like you're moving on to the next level. Whereas today, for someone like Han, you almost wonder if he even really wants to be in sim leagues. I mean, he'd rather spend his time playing on MUT, where he can use playbooks he's going to be able to use in the tournament scene because they don't let you use custom books. And he can build his draft champions team, he can build his MUT team, and if you play those modes enough and you're as good as Han is, and Han's really good, you can actually build yourself toward going to money tournaments in those modes. So if you're someone like Han, you'd rather pour your energy into those modes than, hey, I got to schedule a game with Magic for this 1 hour sim league that's nothing like what I'm. So at this point in time, I think it might be a two-way street. Han may not be, from a commissioner standpoint, the best fit for a sim league, and I don't even know, honestly, he hasn't said this to me, if he would even want to come back to a sim league. I think there's now, the game of Madden has given people enough different ways of playing it that sim leagues aren't as important as they once were. Do you guys agree with that?
Absolutely.
So Han three-peats, the only three-peat in the history of AFL, and I almost want to say the only three-peat we'll ever have, but I never want to say never. So good for him, an absolutely great player on the field, good person off the field who calls into radio shows and gets along with people. So this is definitely a Han-heavy episode. We did have the pick six situation. Hadley loses his second bowl in 3 years. And coming up on the next episode, guys, AFL and Stokes meet up. So until then, we'll see you next time.